I'm Angelo John Lewis for the Sacred Inclusion Network, and if you like to know more about us, please visit our website, sacredinclusion.com. And I'm afraid that I'm going to mispronounce her name, but I'm here with Anna Sólyom. Is that right?
Yeah, that's quite well. Thank you. Thank
Tell
you,
me,
Angela. Yeah.
please tell me how to say it correctly.
Well, in Hungarian, we would pronounce the S and S. So it would be like Sólyom.
Sólyom, Sólyom, Anna
Yeah.
Sólyom,
Yeah. It means falcon.
Falcon.
Mhm.
So I know that you're in Hungary right now. I thought it might be useful. I'm kind of free associating here. Tell me what you're doing. You did some sort of ceremony or something here? That's a good way to introduce you. What are you doing there?
Yeah, so partly my family is from Hungary, so they still live here. I live in Barcelona, Spain since 13 years, and I came home to from home. I came home to Budapest to conduct a ritual also. And in the coming weekend, as I am a trainer in a certain stress release technique called TRE, tension releasing exercises, I'm also doing a training. So I like to pack things together when I come, visiting friends and family, doing some work, and also doing some rituals, which is partly what brings us together here today, I think.
So Anna, when I started researching this, I'm fascinated by your background, and we could probably spend an hour or so talking about all the different facets of it. But let's talk about the healing arts part. You've been involved in the healing arts since you were quite young. Um,
Yeah.
was there an incentive, or was just something you were naturally drawn to, or
That's a good question. I think that's something that I was naturally drawn to, but I remember that I was 16 and I am one of the persons who would not want to relive the adolescence. So I'm really happy that I'm out of it and outgrown the adolescence. But I found a book about Reiki, so healing with touching people. And I read the book and I told my mom that I want to learn this because I found it fascinating that you can transmit life energy from your palms and heal it. I did believe in that time that that's something that can work. And so my mother listened to me, and I was really blessed by that. And this is how this journey started. Up until I was maybe 35-ish, I didn't believe that I can live about doing healing techniques. I did study kinesiology or touchful health, and in other ways, it's also called, um, and different massage therapies and so on. But that was not something that I had in mind. So I did a very normal life up until that point, and then I had the space and time to actually change career, just to say so. And yeah, but I started with yoga and meditation when I was 18. I usually said and keep saying that it definitely saved my life because I was a very rebellious adolescent and possibly very difficult to put up with because I knew what I wanted. And yeah, but it was also auto destruction in that way. So yeah, that was part of the healing journey, how to stop self-destruction and destroying something that could be a blessing and learn to live with that.
how did that piece change your life? What was it about? What was that about?
Well, so I always saw that there are different patterns that are visible in the world. And for me, in that moment, it made a lot of sense. I don't know if you know Enneagram now, many
Yeah.
people know it. So it was back in 1999, that I started to study it with a master here in Hungary. And I also went to with them, with that community, to what is known, I think, in the US as Enlightenment Intensive. I don't know if it rings a bell to you. It's with some very specific technique I cannot recall the name now, the originator. I will send it to you so you can write it in the notes if you want. And it's basically mindfulness meditation mixed with different questions about the most important question in life, as Sri Maharshi would say, who is from a great guru from India, and Papaji and all these gurus from India, which is, who are you? Beyond your profession, beyond your gender, your body, your belief system, beyond all your definitions, how you define yourself, who are you? So I was really caught up in this energy of finding my true self or essence or enlightenment. And I really wanted to escape all this stuff that we call life. It was really painful in that moment. So it really gave me like a, not an understanding, but like a glimpse of enlightenment that we could call satori in the Japanese way, like this understanding of the present moment, that everything is all right as it ought to be, and you have a glimpse of eternity which goes away, but still the blueprint of peace stays inside in a way. So this is what changed my life, I think. But yeah, that recognition of consciousness and sacred belonging to something that is bigger than me.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's like, you have something happens and one has a glimpse of the total reality. And it doesn't like, this is my, I guess this is my, it doesn't necessarily stay stable so that you always realize it, but you know that it's there,
Yeah,
and it's kind of a reference point, I mean, that's my experience.
absolutely. Because you have to go down to the valley from the mountain.
Yes.
You cannot stay on the mountain. That's
You've
something that
got to go and carry water. That's what the Buddhists say.
exactly. Yeah. Before enlightenment, you carry water, you swipe the tents, whatever. After enlightenment, you carry water, you swipe the tent. Yeah. That's the peak experience also in psychology, we would call that, I think.
Mm. So, we're going to be talking about ancestors, and you're going to be doing this event for us on the 28th of
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
Um, so,
28
yeah.
March.
So, I'm thinking about you. You're Hungarian. You're also Jewish. You got lots of different, Ashkenazi roots. Well, how do you hold all those different things, and what do those specific lineages, how do they come through you in a kind of a unique way?
Yeah.
It's a big
I
question, I
I
know.
love that question, but I will start why ancestors are so important, because I think this is maybe a good starting point. And I find them that they are important because their blood runs in our veins. So that's
Mm,
not something that we can ignore, even if I would want to cut cords with my blood family. And sometimes that happens in estrangement, and there are necessities of stepping back. That's not something that I can take out from my body, that influence. So the influence from all those who have come before us and our blood ancestors, it's in us, whether I want it, whether I don't want it, whether I want to know about it, whether I know about it or not. So just like the great psychologist or neurologist Carl Gustav Jung said, uh, uh, until it's like, I will paraphrase that because I may not remember the quote quite right now, but it's something like that until you will know your subconscious, you're going to call it destiny, and you will believe that this is how things have to happen. But when you're going to know it, you will recognize it that maybe you can do something about it. So it's between the unconscious part and the conscious part. And when we bring light in the unconscious part and we make it conscious, we may have that opportunity or that peace of mind or that possibility to change and act differently. Otherwise, we're just reacting and we're acting out the pattern. So you see, I'm really interested in patterns, and I see that in our lives lives, we are very sensitive to transgenerational heritage. And it can be blessings, it can be burdens, but it's there. And I've been always feeling that, I think. So I do believe that both my parents have a great impact on me, obviously, and everyone. But this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because not because of them, it's because of me, but they have a great impact. And so my father didn't know that he was Jewish until he was 18 or 20, because my grandmother is a survivor of the Holocaust. So it was important to hide and to not to let people know who you are or where have you come from. So there is like a difficulty and the change in identity. And this is something that very important even nowadays, when we know that, and I want to name that because it's the different wars that are present here. So everything is there out. So it's even difficult today to say that, yeah, I am partly Jewish. The Jewish people may not accept me as Jewish, as my mother is not Jewish. And, you know, there is this different lineages of acceptance, to say so. But I do welcome and embrace where I come from as much as I can. And I think this is part of the healing, to know it and to honor our roots, because without that honoring, it's really, I find it difficult to soar, to fly, to really become your whole beautiful self.
Yeah, the way I think about it, and I'm not as deep into the ancestry thing as you are, obviously you're studying, is that, psychologists, they always talk about, your parents and how your relatives affect you, which is kind of common sense. So the next level is your ancestors. They
Yeah.
affected your parents and you're affected in that way. Um, to me, it's kind of simple. Now, what you
Yes,
do
it
with it is
is.
another question. And you've studied different ways of people getting in touch with answers. Let me let you make the case a little bit, ask it a different way. It's a busy time. There's lots of different modalities that people can use in psychotherapy, in alternative healings. What is the particular importance of at least thinking about ancestors? I mean, how does it fit? What is the case for it?
Oh, I love how you asked question, Angelo. The case for getting in touch with ancestors is being alive to me. You know, that's like I was maybe 20 years old when I realized that I have, I think, 6 second cousins I have never known. And I'm like, wow, maybe my life would have been different if it would have been a possibility to grow up together with. No? So I think we as humans are really relational creatures.
Yeah.
So it means that we understand the world as we relate to it. And this is
Mm.
true from our childhood, as we take in the world as a sponge. So, as one of my teachers, Dr. Gabor Mate, usually quotes Buddha, as he said, that our mind creates the word. This is what Buddha said. And what Gabor Mate says is that, yes, but before our minds would create the word, this same word has created our mind. How is it possible? Through our first life experience in the womb, the birth experience. I'm also working with different body techniques, so I'm really connected to that as well. And then you have your all early childhood experience and everything. So we're shaped, and all those belief systems are there that we build our identity and life upon. And I do believe that grandmothers and grandparents, grandfathers possibly have an even more important role in today's society than before because of the so small unit of a family. Because when you have small children, it's so difficult to be alone with them. I do believe that we need to come together to help the parents to be in a regulated nervous system because this is what the child needs. And it doesn't matter if it's a mess at home, if you eat rubbish. What matters that your parents have a regulated nervous system, and then you're okay, you're fine. It means that you can joke and you can be bold and you don't have to become someone who you are not. But we all know how is
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry. Say more about the grandparents. That's an interesting thought. You kind of privilege them. You think that's
Yeah.
very important. Yeah.
So I'm in phase of my life that I'm in perimenopause. This is a transition for every woman, and I think this also needs to be reshaped. But from here comes some studies that are actually studying perimenopausic or postmenopausic women's brain. And what
Mm,
they find, because men's brain are really studied already, but not women's brain. So what they find is actually there is like a rewiring of the neural network and different different neuron pathways connected to different emotional triggers
mm,
are getting more importance than previous ones. So taking out from the equation the necessity to reproduce, which is a
mm,
biological necessity,
mm,
so you're fertile. There's a whole bunch of space of love that usually elderly women and women in midlife are more easily able to give. And
mm, mm,
also, the necessity to shape a young child's life is not there because
mm,
that is for the primary caregivers, that's for the mother and the father. So, grandmothers and grandfathers, they can be a lot kinder, most of the time, a lot more loving. They don't have the pressure to feed
mm,
all the family. They are maybe in a different role. And I have a lot of clients. I don't know if you met with a lot of people like that. Maybe yourself is someone who had a really good, deep relationship with one of the grandparents.
mm, mm,
Maybe was spending years with them as a small child because parents were working. So grandparents are really important. And again, speaking in systems, our grandparents are usually the guardians of the information of our lineages.
mm,
No,
mm,
because maybe with the parents we don't speak about this. So often, if it's not something that is really present in our lives, so if I haven't met that in my small family. So I didn't grow up with different rituals of honoring our ancestors or remembering. I think that's something really enriching in the cultures where they are. And of course, it can be also experienced as something very rigid because when there are rules,
mm,
sometimes in our childhood or in our early adolescence, or early adulthood, we really like to try the limits. So we oppose to any rigidity. But the beautiful thing is that as we get older and we start to understand something around life and we have our own life experiences, maybe around 30 or something like that, something comes back and something awakens. Like, yes, I pushed that away. I feel a little bit sorry now, but I am curious. I want to know more. And I
mm,
think this is a beautiful coming back to understand who am I from a different perspective and understanding maybe that that influence that we talked about just a little bit that comes to us through the parents, that maybe it didn't start with my mother.
mm,
Maybe it haven't started with my grandfather.
Mm.
Maybe it's carried all the way along. And for me, that I also work with, for instance, biodynamic craniosacral therapy or other body-based modalities, that's something that we carry in the body.
Mm.
Not only, but also the body is participating.
Mm. Yeah.
Sometimes it can be like a toothache, like, oh, I have it. I don't know, one tooth is behaving strangely. And then
Mm.
you remember, oh, my mother had the same tooth. And then you remember, my great grandfather had the same tooth issue. Indeed,
Mm.
he died of that. And they said, wow, that's something happening with the tooth. Maybe
Mm.
it's not the tooth, but this is how the body signals you what's happening.
Mm. One of the things you alluded to earlier, we didn't. I think it's useful to bring it to the surface, is the idea of wounds in lineages. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you come from a Jewish, or partly from a Jewish thing. I come from partly an African. So, what that means for me is that for me, somewhere along the line, there was slavery. I mean, that's not all there was, but just, and in your case, the fact of being partly Jewish, and you mentioned your grandmother,
yeah,
someone was a Holocaust survivor. So that's
yeah,
there. And to some extent, it seems like that has to affect who you are.
yeah.
Maybe you're just going about your life not thinking about things, but there's a sort of a layer. It's almost to some extent it's invisible unless you're looking for it. That's got to affect you. That's my sense.
I agree. I agree. I was still in university. I have a master in philosophy, so I'm a philosopher, and and I the, I went to. I don't remember what was the seminar that I took, but I remember the study I was reading, and I had to prepare a presentation about, and it was investigating the degree of possibility of melancholy and depression in the second generation down lineage from those who are Holocaust survivors. That
Mm.
was the context.
Mm.
And it was a very high percentage. So, like, the pain and the wound was skipping a
Skipping
generation,
generations. Wow.
exactly, in a way. And it was really interesting to read that. But just to put it in a context, I would like to add, if possible, that this ancestral lineage healing approach that I am practicing, and you also know to some degree, even though there are many different ways to contact the ancestors, I find that this is something that really helped me to come to relate with them as a white woman. I have to
Mm.
say that because maybe I was so distanced from all these rituals that are like, I needed to know that there are some other people who are also white and who can do that. So that was
Mm.
actually really helpful. And I met with Dr. Daniel Foor's work, who is the
Mm.
creator of Ancestral Medicine or Ancestral Lineage Healing. And I want to say the 5 pillars of this work before we continue, because that's something that for me was like an aha moment, like a little light bulb just went on in my brain. And I said, oh God, I know what did I get wrong
Mm.
until now. So that was like, as we say in Hungarian, or I don't know where it comes from, like a stream divider, like dividing a big, big, big um, body of water. And you say, okay, now I know where to go. That's also in the Bible, of course, from Moses. But yeah, so the 5 pillars are uh, we don't know what, but something happens after death with the consciousness or with the person, but we don't know what. In all our cultural heritage or religious heritage, there is some knowledge about it, that something happens with the soul. Those who deceased may not be well. And this is also something that I do believe that some of the religions are aware of. If you take Christianity with the novena prayers or
Mm.
um, going to the church to ask for a mass for the elevation of the soul of the beloved person who passed away. So there are a lot of rituals that are already carried out. But this is the important part, that those who deceased may not be well in spirit. So just imagine if there is a very toxic person, you possibly would not want to spend time with them. And just because someone passed away doesn't make them wise or doesn't make them healthy in spirit. It makes them dead, unfortunately. It's the only thing that happens. Okay. So three more important thing is that there is a bilateral communication. So they can communicate with us, we can communicate with them either through dreams or intuition, or maybe some flower that we see, or a bird or a butterfly that comes to us, and it makes us remember to this person. Sometimes it can be some smell. So there is a connection. There is a mutual influence. They influence us, we influence them. And the dead can also change, which means that they may not be well and they can change, is something that actually changed my perspective in the ancestors, because I did not understood this, or I did not allow this in my thoughts that they can be unwell. But the door was closed, so I intended not to be in touch with them. And then I realized that of course not, because there are so many things that are literally pushing me down that I wanted to put like invisible bricks to keep us apart. But it was not possible. So as you mentioned that partly my lineage is Jewish, I find myself constantly mourning. Like the background noise of my life is melancholy and mourning. In some way. It's always there. It never goes away. Now it's there in a much less degree. So it's in a way more metabolized. But I do believe that grief is everywhere. So it's in your lineages as well. You come from Africa and experience enslavement and other colonizational harms, racism. So it's there, because none of this started today or yesterday. So it means that there has been a lot of grandmothers and grandfathers who were carrying the weight of pain and grief, or those who lost their lands, or those who had to leave behind their beloved rights and religion. So there is a lot, and helping to metabolize grief, that's the ultimate gift a living person can do. And we're doing it anyway, I think.
I think often walking around where I live, and this is probably true anywhere in the world, but in the United States, there's hundreds of thousands of native people buried
Yeah.
in the land, and we are newcomers to this land. It's just very interesting to think about that, you know. It's just it blows my mind in a way. Like the street names were near where I live. Some of them are they come from the Lenape people. I'm sure it's true many places in the world that you have this influence that it's not spoken of and probably not acknowledged or seen really, unless by sensitive people. Um, yeah, talk a little bit about the spirits of the land and the ancestors and how they might
Mm.
conceivably
Mm.
affect people.
Yeah, so on one hand, our ancestors, their bones are in the land. So this is why we're deeply connected to the land. There our ancestors rest. They are the land, also, in some way, we could say. But as we go back in time, and if you imagine the layers of time, this is why when you call an ancestral land of some indigenous tribe, there is a weight to it because it means that for generations, through generations, through generations, a much longer time than a couple of hundreds of years, the bones of the ancestors is in that land. There is this deep interwovenness in a way with all that exists around them. So it's in the living person as well, not only like something that is without aliveness. So the rocks, the earth, the material of the earth, the all the little beings in the earth and the big animals and all the plants, even the sky, the wind, the fire, everything is a living being, or we could say a person.
Mm.
So when we speak about land spirit and a different view or understanding of the word, we usually bring in what we call an animistic ethic, which is, we could say, that helps us to come back to relationship with those that we objectify around us, the earth, the animals, the plants, the stars, maybe also the wind. So if we could say that we have a couple of thousands of kilometers between each other, but if we would be in the same room, we would breathe the same air. We would breathe the same air that you breathe out, and I would breathe it in. So there is a very deep connectedness everywhere, but we ignore it for some reason. So as we are today, the wounding that you speak about, and I know about, and maybe all of you who listen to us recognizing you in some ways, it's in our bodies, it's in our ancestors, and it's also in the body of the earth. We don't have to go far away. We see that we're also contributing to it maybe every day, and we don't like to be reminded of that or be conscious of it, and it's okay. But I do believe that when we speak about earth spirits, it's good to maybe start with asking forgiveness for what I have done or what my ancestors have done. And just in this ritual that we did in Budapest this weekend, some weeks ago, I was reminded that, I forgot a very important element, what we usually forget because we're saying that, I can do whatever I want. And it's untrue. I do need to ask for permission. And I need to be prepared that I will be given a no. And all those people, all those indigenous tribes who lived also in the land of the United States, I do believe that they have been in this relationship with the earth and with the land. And we see this when in the whole continent of Americas, in different countries, in the Amazonas, tribes stand up and say, this is our land. We have to protect the waters.
Yeah, I like that. Asking for permission, and forgiveness, basically. Yeah, as a starting point for connecting with the land, and I guess to some extent, really for ancestors. Because we've all been on both sides of the oppressor oppressed
Yes.
poles.
Yeah, absolutely. In these ancestral lineage healing intensives that you participated in one, and I also was assisting in several. There is a beautiful practice that we usually do that we call the forgiveness practice. And actually, this is also something that we may do when we have this event that I'm going to come and introduce a little bit ancestral lineage healing. I'm just making myself a note so that I don't forget. And yeah, also we need to know what forgiveness is about, and it's not about forgetting.
Mm. Mhm.
It's giving back what is not ours, that weight,
Mm.
you know. And I think that, and maybe this is something that is already present in your network. And maybe this is my question to you: is it present? And I think one
It's present in
maybe,
you. You're part of the network. So,
yeah, I know, but I'm interested in the others as well. Sorry, that maybe it's knowing, maybe it's a belief, we can call it fate. There are many words to that, that there is something bigger than me in this world. What do you know about it? What do you believe?
that's the starting point of the word spirituality is that's the starting point that I'm a little seed and I'm a part of this big thing. I'm
Yeah.
not disconnected from any of it. The ugly, the beautiful, the pure.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could talk all day about these kind of things, but let me ask you just a couple of simple questions and I'll let you get some rest. I know you've been working a lot. The simple question is that if I want to get maybe in touch with my answers, there's lots of ways to do it. I could take a course with Daniel Foor, but what
Yeah.
are some simple ways that people can get more, let's say, in touch with their ancestors? I think we've covered why. I don't know if we were
Yeah.
persuasive or not, but
Yeah. Well, there are many ways. For me, something that helps to relax is knowing that it is safe.
mm,
And the safety, I understand that I'm not tapping in something that will just fall back on me and I will be really in a bad state, which can happen, of course, anytime. But it's really important, and this is why I like ancestral medicine, to first feel what is my personal space, and that my personal space is only mine and nobody is allowed to enter it.
mm,
None of my ancestors. Sometimes it's very difficult because we're not used to put limits with our family members, or we really love them and we believe that they are well. But if the lineage is unwell, it is very difficult that someone who is well in the middle or just close to us really can channel all the goodness of the lineage to us. So I would say that yes, learn a way to get in touch with your ancestors, but your ancestors are those who are well, who
mm,
are so well energetically that you would leave your small children with them unsupervised.
mm,
Okay. And maybe they have been living so far away in time that it's a bit difficult to pick up the phone and call them because you don't even remember the phone number. So, how are you going to connect to them? And this is why these 5 steps of ancestral lineage healing that also Daniel teaches about, I find really useful because it's very structured. The steps are always the same, but it also teaches us what is a ritual space and how to enter it. And the ritual space is really like, okay, I need to do a little bit of personal energetic hygiene, maybe pray. We just made a little prayer together when we started to talk today, asking also for a bit of blessing to reach people, what we chat about. But it's, I think that maybe it's not what matters which method you use, but what matters is how you do it. What is
mm,
your purpose? What's your intention? Because in this ritual space or in contacting the ancestors or the diseased ones, if you want to, intention is everything.
mm,
And you really maybe is a good thing to know who are your helping powers there. Who are those who you can just lean back and say, okay, these people get my hand, get my back, so I can just relax in it. And when I say people, I really mean other than human beings, like animal spirits or a spirit of a land or plant spirits or greater spirits, archangels, or a being that is different than a human because it's also a different space.
Uh, I feel compelled to ask you this. There are certain people in the network, in our WhatsApp group, for example,
Please.
they're Christian, and
Yeah.
they've dropped out of the thing because I don't know why, but I guess they think it's something satanic or something like that. I mean, anybody can do what they want. I'm not saying that, but I'm wondering what you might say to people. It's just nothing to me. It's nothing. I don't understand it, but
Yeah.
but I've
Yeah.
noticed this dynamic, not just, but sometimes I'll mention this and they'll think this is something we shouldn't talk about this or something. It's just
Oh,
odd to
I
me.
see. Yeah. Yeah. I do believe that we need to avoid to be rigid. We need a certain openness to
Mhm.
listen to other people, even if we don't agree with them. And that's fair enough. You don't have to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody's owed to believe what they believe. I have clients who are Christian and their helping power are archangels or Virgin Mary, and they still use this approach of ancestral lineage healing to get in touch with their ancestors. So I don't see it as an opposition. I see something complementary in it. But of course, every person is going to know what their belief system allows them to be close to. And I think that if it is something that you feel a call, you may be like even a little bit afraid where this takes you. But if it is something that you would like to explore, the door is open. And if it's something that you say that not now or not yet, that's also fine. We're going to be here.
We've mentioned Daniel Foor. We should like put it out there because maybe most people that listen to this have no idea who he is. He's written this book that's called Ancestors Medicine, which I
Yeah,
highly recommend. And to
yeah.
some extent, Anna and I are both in that sort of lineage, we'll say.
Yeah, so he's a psychologist from United States. Presently, he lives in Granada in Spain with his wife and two small children. And he created this network of professionals and trainings. And there's a lot of good things, I believe, in the website that people can sign up and maybe broaden their perspective. We could put it in that hat, which is called ancestralmedicine.org. And I'm happy if people go there to explore because there are many different tastes. Everybody's different, so there is space for everyone around the table.
If there's anything that you would want, one thing that people would get out of participating in your event, what would it be?
Knowing that your personal space is yours and it's okay.
Mm,
You are allowed to have your oxygen mask first and then help others.
mm,
I think it's really important for helpers, Angelo, because what you do when you're serving other humans or other than humans, sometimes you pour yourself out until there is nothing left in you.
mm, mm, mm,
And we really need to like self-regulate and nourish
mm.
the server as well to be able to help others. So maybe that.
Yeah, that's a very good thing to mention. So, I'm just delighted that you're going to be, our guest host. I believe it's the 28th of April. And
Isn't it March? Let me check. I think it's March.
I'm sorry, I'm just
Yeah.
incorrigible. Um, no,
I
this
thought
is
March.
March. This is March.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, it is March. Yes, it's the 28th. I think we agreed. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the
You need
details
to
in the
put the
show
right
notes.
date where
Yes,
you put it. Yeah, good, good.
I'm really delighted that that you're my friend, and delighted that we're going to you're going to host this thing for us, and you know thank you.
Thank you, Angela. I'm I'm really grateful for this opportunity for you. Thank you.
Yes.